What's up, guys? Welcome to Laker Central. Make sure you subscribe, hit the bell, and like the videos. So, yes, this is a Lakers channel, but we're going to get into some Clippers news. The Athletic dropped a bombshell news story on the Clippers, and it's pretty damaging for an organization that's tried to distance itself from the issues that were once associated with Donald Sterling. It seems that having a new owner and superstars only amounted to giving an old car a new paint job rather than a new engine and transmission that it probably really needed. Everything about the story goes back to Kawhi and Paul George and the preferential treatment that the Clippers have afforded them. And make no mistake, star players get preferential treatment. But the stuff the Athletic is reporting, man, it is out there. I think you have to start with the Clippers and who they were before they got Paul George and Kawhi. They were a team of non-stars that played above their ceiling, winning 49 games and pushing the Warriors to 6 in the conference semifinals. The team was led by Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell, and they were good but not great. But that summer was huge because Kawhi was a free agent, and both the Clippers and Lakers were making a push for him. He ultimately chose the Clippers, and what really came as a shock was he somehow spoke with Paul George, who was under contract, and he orchestrated a trade for Paul George to the Los Angeles Clippers. Two guys once linked to the Lakers had chosen the Clippers, and though in recent years the Clippers had Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, and DeAndre Jordan, this made them real contenders, especially considering what Lou and Trez had done the previous year. So while the media was claiming the Clippers to be champions from day one, they really ignored the friction that this article really points out. So here are just some of the things from this article. Kawhi would use the female staffer's locker room for his private workouts, oftentimes leaving those women without a place to change or use the restroom. Yikes. Kawhi and Paul George, they had power over the team's practices and travel schedule, leading teammates to believe that Leonard actually canceled multiple practices himself. A star player canceling practices? Whoa. Kawhi was also allowed to live in San Diego and commute from there, which often made him late for team flights. Now look, if you've ever been to San Diego, live in San Diego, have been back and forth to LA, it's like a 3-hour drive. And sure, it's a quick flight, whether it's helicopter or jet, but that's not convenient for a star player to be in San Diego and be commuting to LA. Not to mention, how do you team build when probably the majority of the team lives in Los Angeles and one of the star players is in San Diego? That's crazy. Kawhi and Paul George, they were the only players to have their own personal security guards and trainers. Now, I don't know if the team was paying for security guards and trainers or if they paid for their own. I don't know, but that seemed to have been an issue for other players as well. Kawhi and Paul typically did not speak with the media until at least 45 minutes after games. And what would typically happen was their teammates had to speak to the media first and for longer, which basically made their teammates the public voices for the team. And Kawhi is notoriously quiet. And Paul George is notoriously a liar, right? And so you're the two stars of the team, yet you're sending role players out to answer questions after losses or answer questions why you didn't play or why you were load managed. You're the stars. You're the highest paid people on the team. You should be out there first. Teammates also believe that Kawhi and Paul were able to pick and choose when they played and not only sit out entire games, but when they wanted to come in and when they wanted to come out of games. That was an issue. When they lost in the playoffs to the Nuggets, Lou Williams, he talked about chemistry. He mentioned chemistry as being an issue 3 times. Doc Rivers mentioned trust as being an issue 3 times. Paul George mentioned chemistry. And he also mentioned that the Clippers had not dealt with adversity and didn't get much time together. Well, they didn't get much time together. 1, because Kawhi, one of your star players, is living in San Diego. 2, I believe Paul George and Kawhi only played in, I think, 32 or 37 games together all season long. That was ridiculous. And then during free agency, JaMychal Green someone that I know a ton of Clippers fans wanted back, he bolted for the Denver Nuggets. And he noted how Denver moved the ball and played together as reasons why he left the Clippers. He also mentioned the Clippers blowing a 3-1 lead to, the Denver Nuggets. And he said it was not a tough decision. This is absolutely crazy that the media overlooked all of this stuff all season long. And I remember earlier in the year, Trez talking about some of the issues that the Clippers were having. And really, Trez was used as an scapegoat, that he was a malcontent, that he was the issue on this team. The entire time, the stars were the issue on the team, and it was being overlooked. And the Clippers, from day one, ran this campaign, we over me. They ran this campaign throughout Los Angeles. And the truth was, it was me over we. Their two stars felt like that they were head and shoulders above the rest of the team. And on some level, look, Kawhi has won a couple championships. He's a two-time Finals MVP. Let's say you want to give him all the preferential treatment in the world. Sure. Paul George, he's an all-star, but he ain't won nothing. I mean, there's levels to giving stars preferential treatment, and he probably should not have been given the same amount of preferential treatment as Kawhi. Certainly, there's no way in the world Kawhi should have been been able to use the ladies' locker room for what's being reported as 45 minutes at a time, locking down their locker room and using it whenever he wanted. That's ridiculous. That should have never happened. This Clippers team had issues, and I think what ended up happening was when they lost to the Nuggets, everybody pointed to Doc Rivers and his lack of adjustments, and that's fair. Doc has blown now 3-1 leads, and that's fair to point out. But it's also fair that there were issues with their superstars, and Lou Williams and other players on the team were really happy when they got these superstars, and you turned around and they were marginalized by these guys coming in. And the truth is, Paul George and Kawhi, they didn't want to deal with the media. They couldn't handle the pressure, and that's probably why both players who had been often linked to the Lakers did not want to play for the Lakers, because they could not handle the pressure. And on a day where this article comes out and details all the issues that had happened with the Clippers, LeBron James signs a 2-year, $85 million extension with the Lakers. The Lakers have, while we've been bad over the last decade or so, we all of a sudden have built a team around family and togetherness. In a time where you probably really needed that, dealing with what's going on with the loss of Kobe, with the pandemic. And the Clippers essentially tried to buy their way to a championship with the wealthiest owner in North American sports, and it failed. So I'm trolling the Clippers fans today. I'm having a lot of fun with it, because all season long, all the issues they said the Lakers would have, the Clippers had. So make sure you like, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell.